Thank you, Mr. President. I wish to ask the Minister for Infrastructure whether his department has submitted business cases to Treasury in connection with the Harbours Strategy for inclusion in the 2020-21 budget, and if so, for which elements?
On the Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr. President. I can confirm that outline business cases were submitted to Treasury in July 2018 with respect to Project A, the cruise and heavy cargo berth, and Project B, the pleasure craft slipway and holding area. As a result of Tynwald's consideration of the budget in February 2019, there was an allocation of $500,000 for design fees for the cruise and heavy cargo berth in the 2020-21 budget. I can also confirm that July 2018 outline concepts for the remainder of the work were forwarded to Treasury to ensure that Treasury was aware of the overall potential impact of the various elements of the outlined scheme. These were not formal bids for funding, and no funding has, as a result, been allocated.
Supplementary, Mr. Robertshaw.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the Minister not think perhaps he's jumping the gun? Because this was prior to certain reports, one of which we've just discussed in the previous question, and incorporate certain costs which might suggest that he might wish to withdraw such a business plan in the light of the possible costs that evidence will suggest.
Minister to reply.
The Department is confident the capital sums needed to be expended to ensure the future serviceability of Douglas Harbour. Whilst we've not yet had the expected debate on the Environment and Infrastructure Policy Reviews Committee report into Harbours Strategy, I'll happily make it clear now that I firmly support that the committee's view that maintenance work at the harbour must continue, although I of course add the caveat that this has to be subject to Tynwald's decision on funding priorities. As honourable members know, the Department has engaged with professional consultants to undertake preparatory work as to what is needed in the harbour and when. Honourable members will also note that before capital schemes are brought forward for approval, it is normal for sums to be allocated for preparation works. In this case, the preparatory sums have been used in part to fund the detailed work on navigation and siltation around Douglas Harbour. This study includes not only Victoria Pier area, but also the area outside Princess Alexandra Pier. I'm due to attend a presentation on the conclusions of this study in a couple of weeks' time, and will be arranging to publish the report, as I said before, as soon as finalised and submitted. I'm hopeful once we see, and so therefore that will then go towards the design. So it is normal practice to finalise the design before you put a final process into Tynwald.
Supplementary, Mr. Robertshaw.
Thank you, Mr. President. You talked about capital value, capital cost. Is he aware that the ABP report will also infer that there could very well be some net present value costs going forward in continued maintenance with regard to such matters as tugs? So does he want to sort of think again before he starts spending a huge amount of money that may ultimately prove to be a serious mistake?
Minister to reply.
Thank you. There was always an element of the potential of use of tugs. Once we factor those tugs into that will be brought into the design, and following design work and how that goes, that will then come to this court for approval.
Supplementary, Mrs. Masker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wonder if the Minister could inform us whether the works that are being planned for the forthcoming year and put forward in a business case, does that include works to the Victoria Pier? And if so, what those works might be? Thank you, Mr. President.
Reply, sir.
So, in essence, next year, 2020 to 2021 is around the design and is answering all the questions the Honourable Member has discussed, and also the Honourable Member for Council. Once all of those elements are brought together, and depending on how that work goes, then that will then inform the next step in the process. And I'm assuming at this stage it will then go for a business case for the approval of the report. But it will depend on how those designs go.
Supplementary, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Just to pick up on the Minister's commitment there, will the Minister give a commitment that none of these works will be featuring in column 2 of the budget document, which assume that no further approvals will be required, even if that's for design fees that do hang off the Harbour Strategy?
Yeah, can I re-emphasise? Thank you, Mr. President. Can I re-emphasise? This is all column 3.
Right.
always and will be. This is a strategy. A little bit goes back to what we were talking about, the housing strategy, about having those defined principles first, those looking at an island strategy, and then say how we move forward. And every time we need to make an important decision, then we'll come back to this court for approval.